little bit multiplayer as well before. I just want to let people know we are aware of all your feedback and your suggestions that you've been giving us regarding team adventure and online and multiplayer. We are looking at this. I know you've probably heard this. I've talked to a few people, especially on the forums. I'd probably say the same thing over and over again. The reason for this, we don't want to rush. We want to get this right for you guys. We want to make sure it's exactly what you're asking. So there is a lot of discussion going on, and we will be hopefully sorting this out. But unfortunately, this is all the information that we can give you for now. But we are listening to all your feedback.
Yeet! What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video, and today we're here to go ahead and talk about more Forza Horizon 4. So not only are we going to talk about the upcoming update, which is coming at the end of this week, we're going to be talking about updates which are going to be coming in the next month for Season 4. Obviously, currently we're in Season 2. The update which is coming at the end of this week is Season 3, and then obviously next month, you know, another 4 weeks, we're probably going to get another big update with a bunch of new things, and we're going to talk about everything which is coming to Forza Horizon 4 in the foreseeable future. There's a lot to unpack today, so we're going to go ahead and get straight through this, try to get through everything as quickly and as concisely as possible. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into this. So as you probably saw in that kind of opening clip, I just want to bang this home before we go ahead and talk about everything else, because I'm kind of beating it like a dead horse at this point. I've talked about this so much. It's the multiplayer. So as we all know, PvP has been the most broken thing, or the most, you know, not, I wouldn't say broken because it does work, but it's been one of the most frustrating things with Horizon 4. And I talked about this at launch. Like, I made a video about this at launch, talked about how the ranked PvP needs work, and I think PvP Team Adventure just needs work as a whole. And as you can see from the community liaison at the start of this video, they are looking at this, but this is something which they are going to be taking a while with. Obviously, when you're changing a fundamental design feature of the game, it's not something which can be clicked and fixed overnight. It's not like the engine sounds where, you know, it obviously was a lot of an easier fix. It's one of those things. This is probably going to take time, and I kind of wanted just to cover this at the start of the video, because at least for me, this is one of the biggest issues I have with Horizon. You know, little things like, you know, the paint options which they've added in Season 3, which are coming at the end of the week, as well as, you know, the quality of life improvements, which I talked about in other videos. You know, those are pretty cool things, but PvP and multiplayer, it's a lot bigger of an issue, which, you know, obviously we haven't talked about too much because they haven't really given us too much information, but they have said it's coming. Just be patient, wait, and it's one of those things which is going to get fixed. I'm probably not going to talk about this too much now unless some, you know, new information does come out, because they have said it's being fixed. So it's one of those things where we are going to have to wait for PvP to be improved, and that's pretty much all I have to say on it. If you're confused and don't know what I'm talking about, and you just don't, you know, you haven't heard about the PvP and the problems with PvP, what I'm going to go ahead and do is link a bunch of videos I've made regarding PvP and where it's going, my problems with it, down in the description, as well as a source link, so you can go ahead and have a look at everything I talk about in this video. But with that being said, we're now going to go ahead and talk about what's coming at the end of the week with the Season 3 update, and then also talk about Season 4, you know, in a month's time, what's coming with that update as well. So let's go ahead and cover Season 3. So Season 3 is coming, the patch is actually going to roll out tomorrow, but on the stream they said that it's actually going to, the actual features and stuff are going to come out when the season changes. So keep an eye out for that. That's what they said on the stream. I'm not sure if that's how it was last time, but that is what they said on stream. So whether it actually happens or not, you know, I'm going to take their word for it, and, you know, assume that obviously the download will be tomorrow, but it actually goes live by the end of the week when the season changes. So in this patch, there's a bunch of stuff. I'm going to quickly go over this because a lot of this we already know. New painting options. So I'm going to show gameplay of this as I'm speaking about it. There's going to be new painting options, so now you can actually paint trims of cars. So for example, with the Bugatti Chiron, you guys would probably already know that, you know, there's different trims of that car. So there's a kind of like a little light blue on one side, there's a navy blue on the other side, and there's like a chrome trim in the middle. You're now going to have the option to be able to color those trims individually. Another car that comes to mind is the Audi R8. If you guys remember the original Audi R8, it was silver with the black fin. Now with that car specifically, you're going to be able to change the color of the fin, change the color of the stock car, so, you know, you can actually go in depth with it without going into the vinyl editor and, you know, going in there and going really in depth with it. Before, if you wanted to change, say, the color of that fin, you'd have to go into the vinyl editor. It'd get really complicated, and really, it just kind of get overly complicated for what it is. That is now going to be an option within the paint editor. As well as that, you're also going to be able to change the color of the rim. So you're going to be able to change the color of the outer lip of the rim, you know, the inner lip, the barrel of the rim. Very similar to Need for Speed 2015 and Need for Speed Payback. For those that have played, you know, the Need for Speed games, obviously in those games you can do a very similar thing. As well as that, that brings us over to the brand new rims that have been added to the game. So these rims are being imported over from Forza Motorsport 7. For those that, you know, didn't replay much of Motorsport 7 or never played it at all, essentially in that game there was a bunch of new rims that were brought over. That's also being brought over to Horizon now, so that's really, really cool. For those obviously that have already played Motorsport, you probably have already seen these rims, and for those that haven't, these are obviously going to be completely new to you. But those rims are being added. There's like over 20 different brands are being added. I haven't got the stat to hand, but there's a lot of new rims, which is going to be cool. And obviously with all these rims, you can, you know, use the advanced painting options which are being added in this patch. As well as this, a Horizon Cup is being added in the single player mode, or PvP or co-op, depending on how you choose to play. So how this is going to work is there's going to be certain specific requirements for certain races. So say one race will be S1 Rally Monsters, you know, mixed surface. You will then have to build a car for this, you know, certain class, or use a car you already have in your garage. And it's basically a big racing cup. So there's going to be a big prize pool in the middle, and essentially you're going to be racing in these, you know, events. I think they said the prize pool was $1 million, or like 3.6 million or something across those lines. It's a big prize pool that you're going to be able to get, so make sure you go ahead and look for that. That's going to be pretty cool to take part in. For me, that's something which is really interesting from the seasons, is I was really looking forward to, you know, taking part in kind of championships where there is big prize pools on offer. And, you know, the fact that they're now bringing in PI requirements as well as class requirements, really cool. That's something which is actually going to add time for me. It gives me a reason to buy cars and try different cars out, and obviously try a bunch of cars that I have from Wheelspins which I haven't touched. And that's one thing with Forza which I always like kind of struggle with, is there's always cars in my garage I never use, but with obviously this being added and the specific PIs being added as well, say if it's an S1 classic muscle race mixed surface, you know, it gives you the chance to really mess around with the cars and make, you know, rally cars, or, you know, mixed surface cars out of, say, muscle cars, for example. So that's going to be really interesting to try out, and this comes by the end of the month, and that's something which I talked about very, very heavily on the stream. So if you want to, you know, hear some more stuff in depth about that, I'm going to go ahead and link the stream down below. But realistically, that's kind of the, in case you missed it, kind of synopsis of things. What we're going to talk about now is what is coming with the next patch, because this is all brand new information which I didn't really know. As well as that, we're also going to talk a bit about Fortune Island, but they didn't really kind of show off too much. They're kind of keeping a lot of that as a surprise, which is, you know, to be expected. So we're going to talk a bit about those two things which are coming. So let's go ahead and go straight into Fortune Island first before we talk about Season 4. So Fortune Island, I'm only going to quickly kind of brush on the new things they kind of announced, because I'm assuming a lot of you guys probably already know the things that you've seen in the trailers. A lot of you guys have probably already seen the switchback road. One thing they did announce in this stream is that Drift Club 2.0 is going to be coming with the Fortune Island DLC. They didn't mention if it's going to be exclusive to the, you know, the DLC pass. I assume so, because you're going to have to own either the Ultimate Edition or the expansion pass to own, you know, Fortune Island, or at least buy it separately. But with it comes Drift 2.0, and they've went ahead and said that, you know, with this expansion, it's actually the most asphalt they've had in an expansion period. This is obviously a lot of it is mixed surface and off-road, but this is one of the expansions where, even though it's been advertised as a very off-road centric expansion, it's not all off-road. There's a lot of asphalt in this expansion, a lot of it based around drifters. It seemed like there was a very big emphasis on drifters in this expansion. Again, begs the question, why is there not a drift mode in the game yet? You know, it's been so many years, people have been asking for this. It's a very, very confusing thing that they've added a drift zone which takes up like a whole circuit of the switchback roads that they've already shown off, but they don't have a dedicated drift mode. It's quite weird, especially with Forza Motorsport already having one. You would think it would be a relatively easy thing to do. But with that being said, Drift Club 2.0 is now being added, so that's really cool. I really enjoyed it. It was one of those things that was really, really interesting from the last game. It actually gave me a reason to drift. Obviously, it is kind of a bucket list event, you know, kind of dressed up in a certain way. But it is nice, you know, it is the closest we've had to an actual drift mode, so I can't necessarily complain there. And you know, with them actually saying on the stream that drifters have taken a big kind of center point of this expansion, that's really cool. Not only that, but also they talked a bit about the different off-road routes. Apparently there's one route where it's just a sheer rock face and you can fall off and stuff, so that's really cool to see. It's going to be really interesting to see what people do with the route creator in Fortune Island. And then another thing which they did confirm was that seasons will have effect on Fortune Island, and obviously that will be in sync with the main game. So if in the main game it's winter, on Fortune Island it'll be winter, and then obviously if it's summer it'll be summer, etc, etc. And you never know, there probably might be, I assume there probably will be you know, winter exclusive treasures, or, you know, summer exclusive treasures that you can find only in certain times. So those are the kind of, again, the kind of, in case you missed it, kind of synopsis of things. But I kind of want to talk about Season 4, because this is really where things get interesting for me. So not only did they kind of talk about photo mode very, very briefly, they didn't give much away from what they're actually going to be doing in 4 weeks time, because obviously 4 weeks is a long time, but they did mention that photo mode is getting looked at. They didn't really go any further than this. They just mentioned that photo mode is going to be getting updated. If I was to take an educated guess, and please just know this is an educated guess, I don't know what is behind the scenes, this is me completely guessing. I would guess that they were going to be adding the panning options that they added from Forza Motorsport. So for those that don't know, it's just a different type of way you can take a photo. Again, I'll leave links in the description so you can see differences between the panning and the normal still shots you can take. But as well as that, I'd assume that maybe night options would be available, so like the time of day options would be available, maybe weather would be available in a possible camera update, which is really cool to see. Maybe even the option to get your car a specific amount of dirt on it. Maybe even more video options. They didn't say that specifically. They said photo mode. But when I think of an updated photo mode, I think of things like being able to change the weather, being able to change the time of day, being able to change, you know, maybe even placing certain AI cars around. The latter, I think, is a bit less likely, but the fact that photo mode's even getting looked at is phenomenal, because Forza already has one of the best photo modes, you know, around. For me, I think a wish list of things I'd like to see in the camera mode in the update next month would probably be, you know, time of day, the weather. Those, I think, are two very, very important things. But then also being able to open your doors in photo mode, being able to, you know, really get a bit more intricate with your photos. Obviously, the panning feature is something which I do want to see transferred over from Motorsport. But overall, that was a really cool thing which they mentioned. They also mentioned how, obviously, in a month's time, it's Christmas. Isn't it crazy to think it's already the end of the year almost? And they're going to be adding a bunch of Christmas-themed events and things into the game, which is awesome. And then they obviously kind of quickly dipped into, you know, what's going on with Team Adventure, and said that that will be coming probably at some point next year, in early next year. So just keep your eyes out and stay patient with them. It is happening. You might have noticed I'm speaking quite fast in this video. Honestly, there's so much to cover. I can't believe I've already been speaking for 12 minutes. It's a bit crazy that they're adding so much. Like I said, with games like Need for Speed and The Crew just not coming anywhere near this in terms of support, it is crazy. Obviously, The Crew gets big updates every 3 months, and in the last update, all they did was add a few races. And when Payback was being updated, they just added features that should have really been in the game at launch. It's really, really crazy to see that. And you could argue maybe some of these things probably should have been on launch. You know, things like the rims I would have expected to be there on launch, but they've added a bunch of things which I just honestly didn't expect, like the route creator, like the advanced painting options, etc, etc. It's really cool to see the lengths they're going to, and they are genuinely listening to us, which is really nice as a racing fan who hasn't been, you know, obviously recently with the recent games we've been having been very lackluster. Obviously PvP has been missing from The Crew 2, as well as Endgame as a whole. Need for Speed's been having many troubles recently. Honestly, Forza for me is just, they're hitting it out of the park in every regard, and it's really cool to see them actually doing this well, and, you know, supporting things that we want. And it's overall, I just can't really thank them enough. It's really, really nice to see Playground doing what they're doing, and I cannot wait for the future. So that's been it from today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe and peace.